Welcome to the High Ticket Success Podcast, where premium coaches, consultants, and advisors come for bold strategies, big breakthroughs, and real results. I'm your host, Dave Dubeau. Hey guys and gals, you know that to sell anything, to market anything, it's all about the words that we use, whether the words are spoken, whether the words are via audio, whether the words are written on a web page or in a sales letter. Words are what get people to take action. And today I've got a very special guest, David Deutsch. He is a master wordsmith. He is a professional copywriter. I've known of David for many, many years. You know, he's hung out with the cool kids in the marketing world like Dan Kennedy and Gary Halbert and folks like that. He has helped people write copy that has sold literally billions and billions of dollars of products and services over the decades. And today I'm thrilled because David and I were going to have a little conversation about what's going on today with AI copy and how we can really spruce it up and help make it sell. So David, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Dave. It's great to be here.
So David, let's just kind of, I gave you a little bit of an intro there, but without spending too much time on it, can you give us a 30 to 60 second backstory of who you are and how you got into this whole crazy world of marketing and copywriting?
Yeah. I started out, found myself working at an ad agency in New York, Ogilvy and Mather.
That's a pretty famous one.
That's a pretty famous one. Yeah. Yeah. I started out in administration and I just like, well, as long as I'm here, maybe I should look into this copywriting thing.
Did you literally start in the mailroom? Don't tell me you started in the mailroom.
Pretty much. It was more like the typing center than the mailroom. Yeah, it pretty much started there. Yeah. And eventually got into doing all sorts of different kinds of copywriting there. When I left Ogilvy, I worked at other ad agencies and did a lot of different, straight advertising, some direct response, but eventually kind of discovered direct response through Jay Abraham, people like Jay, Dan Kennedy. And I was like, wow, there's this whole other world out there where you actually sell stuff directly. And fortunately, Ogilvy himself was very direct response oriented.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
So I had like a little bit of a predisposition toward that. And before I knew it, I was writing long sales letters and direct mail. And then, of course, direct mail turned into online. Although direct mail is still a very powerful medium, which is hugely underused, but that's sort of another story. And, today I work with people. You would think, well, I'm in danger of being put out of business now with AI, but it's actually creating more opportunity than ever because AI has kind of commoditized copy. Like now anyone can write, decent, boring copy, and so everyone does write decent, boring copy, and it becomes harder to now differentiate yourself. So a lot.
Yeah, we were talking about this. We were talking about this a little bit before we started the whole recording, and it's so true, David. Like, when AI really hit the market, what was that, 22 or 23 that came out?
Yeah, 22, 23.
People were starting to use it for copy. And then there was all this prediction of, hey, this is going to replace copywriters. And I think I think a lot of not so great copywriters have been put out of business by AI. Mm-hmm. But I have definitely seen that. Like I do use AI all the time and I do use it for copy, but you're absolutely right. If you don't know how to use it properly, it just creates this blah generic, what did you call it?
Oh, Pablum.
Pablum copy. That is that's a beautiful term, right? It's like like baby food, like mashed peas. It's just boring and blah and tasteless. There's no real personality in there. So so tell me a little bit about how you've seen the evolution of AI and copy over the last couple of years. Because it's been pretty fast.
Yeah, I mean, I think just people have become increasingly reliant on AI, which is unfortunate because AI is a great partner. It's a great at coming up with alternative ideas. What if you rewrote this in the voice of Gary Halbert? What if you rewrote this in Dan Kennedy's voice? What if you rewrote this on a 6th grade level, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think is wrong with this? What are some other ways of doing this? Like I might have used greed. How would you do this from a fear point of view? So the problem is AI then says, what would you like me to rewrite it for you? And all you have to do is just say yes. And it, boom, it rewrites
Oh,
it.
yeah, the whole thing. Yeah, exactly.
And AI is so good at sounding like it's meaningful and good copy. Whereas if you really look at it and you really study it, it's it's devoid of life. It's it's got that familiar AI sort of cadences, the use of three, the use of flowery language, this but not this. There's certain because after all, AI is just an amalgam of everything that's come before, and it takes it and it kind of homogenizes it. And it doesn't take it and go, oh, this is the best of what's ever been written about copy.
Hmm.
No, it just takes everything that's ever been written and sort of get, okay, these are kind of the patterns. I'm going to use this pattern. And, that's why it becomes up to us to, okay, how do we take that now and turn that into something that's different and better than the stuff that everyone else is using AI to grind out?
Okay, so let's dial it in a little bit if we can, David, and let's focus
Mhm,
on, let's say, this whole show is for high ticket coaches, consultants, advisors, people who are typically trying to sell their own personal services
mhm.
to whatever their clientele is. How, if you were in that situation, which you kind of are, you're a consultant advisor, you're a copywriter, right?
Right,
So
right.
how do we take that whole idea of AI is powerful, it can be very, very helpful, but it doesn't replace the human touch when it comes to copy. How can we apply that to our own businesses, our own copy, and and get something useful out of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got to start with your own humanness, right? Your own emotions, your own experience, especially if you're a coach of any sort, especially if you're, you know, trying to lead people, advise people, um, get people to invest with you, whatever it is, right? Um, People want to feel like they're investing with a human. And what are the attributes of a human, right? They've got opinions, they've got emotions. What
They're
is it
they're
that you,
imperfect.
and they're imperfect, right? Which
Hmm.
is really the most interesting part of people. If you read someone like James Altucher, all he talks about is his imperfections. I mean, he's a brilliant guy, but he talks about his failures. He talks about like how messed up he is, and people are fascinated by that. So,
You,
and
you, you know what? Sorry to go on a tangent here, but since Ozzy Osbourne passed away recently, I
right?
started rewatching the Osbournes show, and that speaks to that perfectly. Like, such a dysfunctional family,
Yeah,
yet blew up at the time because people were so fascinated with the dysfunction, the imperfection of that family unit. So it kind of speaks to your point there. Uh,
yeah. I mean,
that's
that's
what's interesting about us, is not the,
right.
we don't want to see the Instagram perfect stuff. We want to see the real thing.
Yeah, we want to see the real thing. We want to see your real emotions too.
Yeah.
What do you love? What do you hate? Or who are you jealous of? What are you embarrassed about? Your failures. Like what was a nightmare story? And, there's such a difference between a story that comes from a real person that talks about what their initial failures were, or talked about an embarrassing thing that happened last night, or what happened with their kids, right? Or some lesson their kids learned or they learned from their kids. But that's it's a different resonance than AI coming up with something. Last night I was talking to my son and he told me, and you can just see that there's none of the little detail in it. There's none of the warmth, there's none of the personality, there's none of
Mm.
the color that comes from someone telling you a real story. And I think people are, one of the things that's happening now is people are increasingly recognizing AI copy. You see people going, ah, yeah, it's more of that AI crap. A lot of times on posts or something, people will say, ah,
Yeah.
it's that
Or AI images or AI videos
AI
now for crying out loud.
images. Yeah, they're getting really consciously able to recognize it, and more, of course, subconsciously.
Yeah.
They just kind of feel a little bit put off by
Something's
it.
off. Yeah.
Yeah, just like with stock photos, people can look at it and go, "Oh, yeah, that's the people posed around the conference table. That's a stock photo."
So here's a question I have for you, David. So I mean, obviously you're passionate about copy and words and the craft of copywriting. A lot of the rest of us really suck at copywriting. We really suck at telling good stories, and we don't particularly want to become a master of that, but we
Right.
understand the importance of it. So, given that, let's say somebody, a coach or consultant's watching this and go, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, it can't just be AI Pablum. I do have some good stories, but I don't really know how to tell good
Mhm.
stories or definitely don't know how to write them. How could we take what's in our heads, if we want to do it ourselves, kind of thing, with a little help from AI? What tips would you give, if any, to take what's in our head, use AI to get it out there, but still have it sound human and not so AI-ish?
Yeah, and I don't know it's a matter of using AI to get it out there. I think it's more a matter of using like a tape recorder or the
Hmm.
record function on your phone, just talking to your phone.
Okay.
A lot of people, even maybe even like yourself, they say, "Oh, I'm not good with words and I'm not very good with stories." And yet they can keep people riveted in a bar, telling stories if you're, wild youth or, or clients, interesting clients that you've had. And people that say, I'm not a very good with words, I'm not a very good persuader, they're perfectly able to persuade their wife, their partner, whoever, to go to this restaurant instead of this restaurant or to go see this movie instead of that movie because they've been persuading since they were babies, right? And
Hmm.
they persuaded with smiles and they persuaded with, coos and they persuaded by crying. They persuaded to have their diaper changed. So we know how to persuade. We just we become different people when we pick up a pen or kind of go in front of a keyboard and we think,
So what would you recommend? Talk it out, and then what do you do?
yeah,
So
just
I.
talk it out, record it, transcribe it, just get used to talking.
Mhm.
Talk to other people and record yourself talking to other people. Just talk out loud if you don't mind feeling kind of, silly. And just sort of like, what would you say to someone sitting in front of you about this product? What if your life depended on it, right? What if there was a gun
Mhm.
to your head and you had to convince someone? What if it was someone you loved that needed this coaching, right, to help get what they want out of life or avoid some catastrophe or avoid winding up on their deathbed with all these regrets?
Mhm.
Like, so it's not someone you're trying to sell, right? It's someone you care about and you want to convince them,
You
right?
want
You
to
take what
persuade them to.
you know about them and you say, look, this is what I know you want. This is how this connects to what I know you want. And that's all persuasion is. That's all we get caught up in the words, but the words don't matter.
Yeah. No,
Look
that's.
at Dan Kennedy's writing, right? He's not a wordsmith per se, right? You don't look at Dan Kennedy's writing and go, boy, look how he came up with that word and that turn of phrase and that, elegant.
Mhm.
It's like poetry there. No, he's just like, he's just this stern parent talking to you and telling you,
The
what you're
no
doing
BS truth.
wrong. And it's telling you truth. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
just spilling truth.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
just pushing the right buttons, right? It's not how he says it, it's what he knows exactly what to say,
I think
right?
a modern day version of Dan Kennedy might be Alex Hormozy.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very, very good communicator and a very simple wordsmith. I think a big part of his trick and his appeal is he puts everything through and makes sure it's understandable. I think at a grade 4 reading level,
Yeah.
which sounds insulting because his target avatar are business people and self-employed people who have more than a grade 4 education, but he keeps it super, super simple and easy to understand, so you don't have to think too much about what the hell he's trying to say. It's very easy to understand.
Yeah. And not in a deceptive way, like, oh, I don't want you to think too much or you'll realize
No,
what a
no, no.
scam it is. But, in a way of like, we just don't want to work that hard, right? We're distracted. We got things to do. We don't have time to kind of parse complicated sentences. And there's also a heuristic that people have that when something is simple, it tends to be more believable. When something
Mm,
is complex, we tend to not trust it as readily,
right.
right? That's
That's a
why
good point.
sayings are just a stitch in time saves nine. They're just simple. They're not like, hey, sometimes doing something in advance is a much more resourceful way to accomplish something for the long-term goals.
Yeah.
No, it's simple. Stitch in time saves nine. Yeah, that sounds true.
As we're kind of wrapping this up, David, and we can't, I mean, we could spend
Wrap it
days
up. I'm
talking
just
about
getting
this.
started
I
here.
know, I know.
Yeah.
One question I have for you, I have a challenge personally where I tend to focus too much on facts, right? Facts
Yeah.
tell and stories sell, and I don't use enough stories. And I think a lot of people fall into that. What might be some tips that you have for weaving stories into our copy and into our marketing materials?
Well, I think just remember everything's a story, right? Everything's a narrative. Everything's part of our story here on earth or someone else's story. So you could have something like, somebody did a study and found this, and you could say, hey, here's the facts. Like Harvard University did a study and they found that, nine out of 10 people, 90% of the people, that did this thing got this result, right? Or you could tell a story more of, hey, these scientists got together and they divided to two groups. And then one group they gave the thing to, the other group didn't get the thing, didn't do the thing. And then the scientists were shocked to discover afterwards that this happened. So it just becomes a little more of a story. It doesn't have to be like a once upon a time there was a scientist and he was born, and decided to become a
Yeah.
scientist and went to school and studied, right? But you could still extract a little story from it. It's the same thing with any fact. There's a story behind
There's
that
a story
fact.
behind the fact. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really good way to put it. That's for sure. David, if people would like to connect with you, find out more about David Deutsch and what you do and how you help people to copy, where should they go?
They should go over to speakingofwriting.com. And there's some free stuff there, free reports, free trainings and things, and the contact form. And they can find out about some of the stuff that I offer. And
Fantastic.
speakingofwriting.com.
Speakingofwriting.com. Perfect. Mr. Deutsch, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure getting to know you a little bit, and thanks for being on the show. I really, really enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for having me.
All right, everybody, take care. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks for listening to the High Ticket Success Podcast. Want to be featured, share your story, and inspire other premium coaches, consultants, and advisors? Apply now at highticketsuccesspodcast.com/guest.